by the way, I love your work. Everyone is on a spiritual path. Most just don't know it. The spiritual journey is the unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love, says Marianne Williamson. Welcome back to the show, and if this is your first time, my name is Aisha, the I Love Your Work podcast's host that gives flowers to those who have earned them. Today on the show, we have Nasiruddin Shuraim Abdulmumin. He's an investor, a content creator, and a host of Africa's spiritual and lifestyle show titled With Shuraim. Shuraim was born and raised in northern Nigeria with a burning desire to empower youth trapped in a shell filled with untapped potentials. He communicates in a language known to all, a language backed by sincerity and motivation. He has a degree in Islamic studies from the prestigious Al-Hikmah University in Ilorin, and he later pursued certificate courses in essential management skills from the International Business Management Institute in Berlin, Germany. He also has certificates in terrorism and security studies from the Roman Institute for International Studies, and he has other certificates which include digital marketing. Welcome to the show, Shuraim.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy to have you here.
No, I'm excited to be here.
Why do I feel like I'm on your podcast? So I did mention your podcast earlier with Shuraim.
Right.
But one of the things that I would love to talk about was Did You Know?
Mm-hmm.
I know you recently set up a new business, like a group to cover a whole bunch of things. So I would like you to talk to us about that. But let's start with Did You Know? Because when I met you, that was the first thing you told me about. And that was a couple of years ago. And now I know it's a global brand.
Alhamdulillah.
So I would love to know about you and Did You Know?
First of all, it's very weird being on an interview because usually I do the interviewing and then sitting here to be interviewed by you is so weird. So I'm gonna be calm. I'll try as much as possible to be calm.
Tell us.
All right.
Stay calm.
All right, now I'm back. All right, going back to your question about myself and Did You Know, basically, what led me to start Did You Know was because I was in a position where I felt a lot of people, think that to attain spirituality, you need to forget your humanness. And for me, I got to realize that attaining spirituality means that you need to accept how human you are. Yeah. And when you're human, it makes you vulnerable to the one who made you in the best of ways, and that is the God Almighty, right? So I felt people needed to understand this. And our society was, it's a kind of society whereby you're not allowed to talk about things, right? You're like being censored.
Taboo.
Exactly.
Serious.
These are taboo. Don't talk about this. Don't talk about that. Don't talk about that. And I was like, no, but we need to talk about serious issues in the society. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm studying Islamic theology, Islamic studies. What can I do differently? I don't want to finish my course and then go become a preacher and the likes, because there's a lot of preachers out there, right? And I was like, okay, fine, I want to run a show. And then I was watching so much of the likes of Oprah, Ellen DeGeneres, whatever, then David Letterman.
So you were inspired.
So I was inspired by what they do. And I was like, see, if these people can do this, I can do the same as well. Yes. I was like, okay, fine, Oprah, she's black, I can run a TV show, right, whereby I can invite people and talk about things I think people really need to know. And I was thinking, what should I call the show? I was like, okay, people don't know, they need to know. How about did they know? No, they don't know. And I was like, okay, did you know? So it became Did You Know with Shuraim. That was the first thing that happened. Yes, and I was like, okay, if I want to interview scholars, talk about real stuff that are happening, from addiction to abuse and likes of it. And we live in a toxic society that views Islam as a religion of oppression. We have so many people saying Islam is that, Islam is this. And I was like, see, I've studied Islamic theology, and this is not what Islam is talking about. And I wanted people to see it from my vision, what I understand, how I look at it properly. And I was like, okay, fine, this is what I was going to do. And I spoke to a few friends of mine. I was like, see, I want to run a TV show. Like, haha, are you crazy? I was like, no, I'm not.
Crazy. I thought your generation found it easier.
No, at all. Like, people didn't believe in what I was going to do. People said, you can't run a TV show. It's not going to happen. This is just you creating lies in your head. Wow. But for me, I believe so much in the message. And I believe that if others can do it, I can do it as well.
But do you remember like an exact time that this belief happened, or you've always known?
So for me, it's always been what my mom tells me. She said that you can do it.
Yeah.
And when I was little, I was very stubborn, and my mom would say, "See, you're very stubborn. I just hope that Allah makes you a great person because you always go to get whatever you want to get." And I was like, "I can do this." And I began to think, okay, who am I going to interview? And I was like, Mufti Menk, Bilal Philip, Asma Lakim, all these guys. I want to interview them, right? And I told my friend, like, "Are you okay?
Yeah.
How can you, you're here and Mufti Menk is there and..."
But they're human beings.
But they're human beings.
Yes.
And then, alhamdulillah, I got to do my first interview, which I got to interview Mufti Menk. And that's how the brand got to grow from Did You Know with Shuraim?
Yeah.
When I came back to With Shuraim. And then Did You Know became a studio on its own, and it stands on its own. And we opened a different studio called San Studios to manage other productions.
What does San mean?
San is basically my name, Shuraim Abdul Muhammad Nasir.
Nice.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
So we'll go back to the quote, because there's something you did mention earlier about the fear. And I said the unlearning of fear and the acceptance of love.
Right.
And I think one thing that I found about even me learning about Islam is there's a lot of hate in the world, but I think it comes from a sense of lack of understanding. There are times that even myself have found things that I've read or asked, if I ask around, and it just seems so negative. It always seems so negative against me until I did my own learnings. So along the way, I know we had a conversation in the past talking about you becoming an ustaz. We were teasing you at the time. And I remember saying to you, you have to still remain vulnerable. We did have this discussion, right?
Yeah.
And being human, because one thing I know about people who talk about Islam, automatically society puts you on a pedestal where you're meant to be perfect. You're not allowed to make mistakes. Do you think you have that problem?
Yeah, well, as real as I can be, to answer your question, talk about being on a pedestal. You see, the loneliest place you can be is on a pedestal. No mercy lives there, no compassion, no understanding,
no love.
No love. Your perfections or your imperfections are always looked at, and everybody want to criticize you at any opportunity they have. So being on a pedestal, yes, I've been on a pedestal. People, put me and say you're a sheikh, you're on stars and everything. But what people don't understand, and this will link me to the first question you asked about people not having a proper and deeper understanding of Islam. Yeah. We live in a society where everybody today is a sheikh. Everybody today is an ustaz. Everybody can say yani, mashallah. And before you know, they go online and begin to say everything. And then you think that these guys have the qualification. They don't have the qualification. They can't even be called ustaz. They can't even be called sheikhs. They don't have that capacity. And a lot of people feel that as long as you know a bit of Quran, a bit of hadith, you're not a scholar. Yeah. When you're sick, you go to a doctor, right? When you need a case to be solved, you go to a lawyer. Why is it that when it comes to Islam, every person want to talk about things and say, I can say this about Islam, that, and likes of it? And that's why when you come out differently and say, okay, fine, I don't want to do this, but this is the right thing to do. People say, no, you're bringing something different. People say, no, you're doing something crazy. And for me, it's be like, no, I'm not doing this. This is what I believe in Islam. This is my religion. This is my faith. And I respect all. This is what I see, right? This is what I understood. This is what I've studied. How can I pass the information better? But this is the problem. People think that as long as you're spiritual, and people don't understand the difference between being religious and spiritual. Exactly. Then people think that as long as you're religious or spiritual, you need to be perfect. People come to meet the spiritual person and say, I have a problem with my marriage. Yeah. And then if the spiritual person has a problem with his marriage, they say, no, he did something bad. Yeah. They criticize you immediately. They forget that the spiritual person is a human being as well. Human, yes. Do you understand? And that is a big problem. Our society has a toxic notion about people who are spiritual or who are doing good things in the community. They are humans, and you need to cut them some slack. Yeah. Because putting them on a pedestal at times, they get depressed, they get worried, they have anxiety. So when you put them there sometimes, at times, I just be like, okay, fine, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm just going to stop the work.
You know you can't do that.
Yeah.
You started this and you're doing this.
Exactly. And then you don't remember that, okay, why are you doing this? Sincerity of purpose is very important. You're doing it because you want to pass
say
information.
That again.
Sincerity of purpose is very important whatever you do. And when you remember this, you understand that, okay, fine, why am I doing it? I'm doing it because I want people to understand the message. I want to unleash the innermost potential of young people in our generation. I want a society whereby people will love each other and not be scared of each other, the likes of it. And this is very important for me. So yeah, to answer your question, be on a pedestal. Yeah, we're all on pedestals. But how we deal with it is what is the different thing.
So it doesn't really, I think clearly it must have gotten to you once or twice.
Of course it has, a lot.
And that's why, because I remember we used to go to exercise. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
and
I
remember there was one time that one of the people in the group was like, Shuraim, Ustaz exercises. So I'd like you to talk about your personal life. Like, I already know, did you know, it's out there. For those who haven't watched it, check out With Shuraim on Instagram and tell us about the different channels where they can find With Shuraim. Yeah,
well, we'll come to. So to answer your first question, and myself personally, what I've been able to do over the past few years is to draw a line between my personal life as well as my work. And I try to make it as professional as possible, and that's why I don't post anything personal that much on my page if people notice. And people keep asking me that, where are you from? Who is this? Who is that? What are you doing? You know, likes of it. What do you do apart from the kind of work you do and likes of it? So I've been able to draw a balance between them, because for my peace of mind is very important. At least I have something to go back to that people don't know about, because sometimes being in the public space, if you're not careful, it will drain you down.
Oh, of course.
So you have to be able to draw a balance as much as you can. So for me, I love food a lot. Everybody knows that. And I remember when you asked me to go back to the gym because I was getting bigger and bigger. So for me, I really love food a lot. And so I play different games every month, just trying to find the right one. I used to do polo, I left polo. I went to long tennis, I left long tennis. I went to the gym. I go to the gym once in a while. And now I'm into squash. And
really?
It's really nice. And I love to watch documentaries, a lot of documentaries, because it helps me get ideas for what I want to do and what kind of content I want to produce out there. And also
learning, we need to constantly
100%.
Learn.
And for me, I also watch a lot of TV shows because I want to do something that's why I'm focused on quality, and also quality of not just the video, but the information. If you've noticed on our show, all the people I've brought on my show are people that are qualified and known that they are qualified. All the people we've interviewed. Yeah. So I've forgotten your second question, so you can ask me again.
Even I can't remember now. But I think I need to talk about your network. Because for me, I remember my own history saying I wanted to photograph certain people and everyone thought I was crazy. And for you, it's the same. You mentioned the likes of Mufti Menk.
Right.
And I remember thinking, even when we had a discussion about the podcast and your TV show coming up, I know at the time you already had a relationship with Mufti Menk.
Right.
Because I know they were coming to Nigeria and there were a couple of Islamic events that were happening. But how did you build that network? Because now you're talking about quality. And I'm saying this for those who also have plans and have dreams, because this is you creating your own dream. It did not matter that people didn't believe in you. It didn't matter that people thought you were crazy, right? And it didn't matter whatever societal judgment was coming your way, which is for me, like I said, the unlearning of fear.
Right.
So you drop that fear, because these are the things that stop us. So how did you build that network? Like the tentacles, how did it spread?
Well, let me tell you a story. Down to when I decided to run a TV show, the first person on my mind was to interview Mufti Menk.
Yeah, you said so.
And immediately I was in the university, and I heard that Mufti Menk was coming to Nigeria. And I was like, see, how can I reach to this guy? I sent him about 100 emails. And I was like, this man should answer. And I spoke to somebody, and I called him, and I was like, please, can I interview Mufti? I was like, he cut the call on me.
Oh, you're kidding.
And then I called another person, please, can I interview Mufti Menk? He said, nah, you've never done this before. You know, why will you interview him? And I got another guy, he was like, okay, just come. Maybe something might happen. And I left school immediately. And you know, then...
So this is when you were still in university?
A week to exam.
Wow.
Yeah, a week to exam. And I left school, and I was like, see, I'm just going to leave. And
Students
at that point...
don't leave school. but yeah.
Exactly. At that point, I was like, okay, fine. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. I think I have a shot at it right now. What can I do? I came back to Abuja. When I came back to Abuja, the interview was in Kaduna.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. When I came back to Abuja, that's when I realized that I don't have a camera. I don't have a crew.
You don't have your gear.
And I was like, Shuraim, what you doing? And I was like, okay, fine, what am I going to do? So I called the guy, I spoke to him, okay, how can we collaborate? Please, want to shoot an interview? You have the content with you, and blah, blah, blah. And he agreed. And he came over
first contact.
First contact in the network. And he came over to Abuja, and I got to meet him for the first time. He also has a TV station then. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. This content is yours. And then we drove to Kaduna on a Friday. Now, when we went to Kaduna, we were at Murtala Square. And then the people already said we're going to have the interview because I was disturbing them, right?
Yeah.
And they called in the evening. They were like, Mufti Menk is ready for the interview. Him and Sheikh Muhammad, they are all ready and we should come over. And guess what happened? We went to the car. We tried to on the car. The car refused to on.
Oh my God.
And I was like, oh my God, what happened? And immediately I was so confused. I was like, subhanallah. I called a friend of mine. Please, can I use your car? And he said, yes, you can come take it. I didn't know Kaduna. That was my first time in Kaduna. And I went to his house. Like I went there and I was coming. And they called me, where are you? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I was like scared. I was like, I'm coming. And then when I arrived, they now called me again. The next voice I heard was Mufti Man.
Wow.
Assalamu alaikum, my brother. I waited for you. I've not seen you till Christmas. Why are you not here? Blah. And I began to cry. I was like, I lost the interview. Yeah, I lost the opportunity. And I was like bitter to myself. I was like, what did you do? So when I went back to the hotel, I was thinking I'm going to leave Kaduna the next day.
Yeah.
But I prayed to God. I'm a very spiritual person. And I believe in the God that I serve. And I believe that if I tell him my problem, he's going to give me solutions, right?
Yeah.
So I prayed in the night and I said to God that you own his heart. Direct his heart towards me. And I was like, I'm just going to leave in the morning. It doesn't matter. It means it's not good for me. Yeah.
Yeah. You
took
it as a sign.
And I was comfortable with that because I appreciate my failures. If I'm not successful in a particular thing, I appreciate it and I move on to the next thing. So I was like, I'm not going to leave in the morning. So in the morning I was like, nah, I've never listened to this man physically talk. Let me just go to his lecture. And I was at the lecture and I was called after the lecture. Shuraim, Mufti Menk wants to get the interview. And I was
That's beautiful.
I looked up and I said to God, and I was like, I know you would do it.
Maybe it was just a test to see how much you wanted.
100%.
How about that?
Yeah, 100%.
Because we always have these obstacles come our way. I think it's always a good thing too. And that was it from there.
I went straight up to where he was and moved to Menk. I met him. For the first time, my hand was shaking. Oh. And he hugged me and he was like, is this your first interview? And I was like, yeah, it is my first interview. And he said these words, exactly, walk with me and I will walk with you. Oh. And I was like, oh my God. And then he sat down and I sat down. And then I was just shaking, like, what am I going to say? And I just started the program. And the first thing he said that calmed me then was like, I love the way you speak. And I was like, oh my God, he just said it. And I was like, alhamdulillah. And the interview was
And you
perfect.
just got calm.
And I just got calm. And that was how it started. And then after that, guess what happened again? The videos got missing.
Oh my Lord.
Yeah. And then when the videos got missing, after like 2 months, and then in university, people were saying that Shuraim lied. Shuraim is a liar. Because the pictures were there and everybody thought it was Photoshop.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And everybody thought this picture was Photoshop. And I was like, it's not Photoshop. And everybody was in the university was calling me a liar.
How did you lose it?
So the guy who did the video lost it. And I was so confused then. So Mufti Menk reached out through his admin for the first time. Assalamu alaikum, brother, we need the video. You did, it was a highlight of his trip then, and he needs the video. And I was like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
This man is going to say I'm doing something serious, I'm not this. I was praying really hard, and guess what? I just remember that I took the long shot from the guy after the interview on the same day. And I was like, this should be my laptop. And I ran back to the hostel, and I was checking, and I saw it, and I took the video, and I met a guy in the university, and I was like, please, I have 5,000 naira. Help me edit this video. I need it to be out.
5,000 naira.
I gave him 5,000. He edited the video, and the video was out. And Mufti Menk posted it on his page. Gosh. And I was like, and everybody was like, oh my God, you really interviewed him. Oh. And I looked up to God again, and I said, I knew you would do it. You're the only person I could focus on, right? And that's how the show began to boom, and so many people began to come. And at that moment, I didn't know, I've never done any media course or anything, but the show began to grow as gradual as possible. And I realized, okay, it's becoming bigger, there's more things I need to do. And voila, I said I'm going to hold the first ever conference whereby I want people to come and talk about real stuff, because my focus was talking about things that people consider as taboo. So, and I said, okay, fine. People come to me, a lot of young people come to me, my peers, and they were like, we're suffering from addiction, pornography addiction, drugs addiction. And I was like, okay, let's start with one. I'm going to do a conference on pornography addiction. And I spoke to a few other people, and I was like, who's a pornography expert that we can get? And they led me to somebody in Australia, Wael Ibrahim. And amazingly, he was coming to Nigeria, and I spoke to the guys, and the guys were like, okay, fine, no problem, we're going to help you out. And I spoke to him, and I said, okay, this is our problem. I want to hold a conference on this and this and this. I was like, no problem. And I was like, see, people are not going to come for this stuff, because everybody come there.
They want to like, no,
I'm going to do this.
Seen as,
Exactly. But we held that conference, and guess what? We had about more than 800 people attended. After the conference, we had more than 600 emails of people seeking for help.
That is serious.
How do we find help? What do we do? And like, sorry, I'm addicted to this, I'm addicted to that. And that was when I realized that I had to take this from this stage to another stage. And at that moment, I was still confused on what to do, how to do, because I don't have any expertise, I've not learned anything. And alhamdulillah, it's been a beautiful, difficult journey. And for me, I wouldn't choose anything better than what I'm doing right now.
But there's beauty in the difficulty. I think
100%.
If people get into the process, you know, the many things that happen behind the scenes, nobody 100%. Knows.
Absolutely. And you know, you spoke about meeting people. And in life, what I've realized that you're going to meet your dream makers and your dream killers in life. And this is something, when I met you at, Creative Clan, the office. I didn't have an office then. I didn't have a studio. I was just finishing my NYSC. And the next thing I was going to do, I was so scared, right? Because what am I going to do? I need a job. I need to make money. I need to earn this. I need to earn that. And I came to you and I spoke to you that, see, this is what I'm doing. I want to scale up. I want to work. And you're like, nah.
You wanted to go get a regular job.
Exactly. And you told me like, nah, don't do the job. Don't do this. Don't do that. I'm like, okay, fine. Okay, what am I going to do? And you advised me. And that is when I realized that every young person needs someone to take them somewhere within themselves, that they cannot go by themselves. Because if you're in the box, you can't see the label. You understand? And if you're in the, if you're the frame, you can't see the picture. So you need someone that has done that, been there, that will hold you by your hand and show you what you need to know and make you understand that, see, this is what life is about. And that person must have sincerity of purpose in trying to do that, because if people have sincerity of purpose in their heart, so what they say to you directly goes to your heart, and it's a spiritual thing. And before you know it, that person becomes a better version of themselves. But today we live in a society where people don't care about what others. People come and say, please, I want to be your mentee. And I don't have this time. Yeah, you don't have the time. But the moment you say, if you don't have the time, you're sincere. You say you don't have the time, which you don't have the time to help them, right? But the moment you say is, I'm accepting you to be my mentee, then you have taken a responsibility that you must do. Right? Now, if you had told me that, hey, this guy is just an ustaz, he's just keeping the beard, and he's just that, I wouldn't be here today sitting with you and having a conversation. So it's really important for the older generation to understand that
mentorship is key.
Mentorship is key. And if imagine Mufti Mengi, if he hasn't told me that, work with me and I'll work with you. So these are key things that help the person.
The beauty about when you meet people, I think for me, when I meet people, I like to see the best in them first.
100%.
And there are times that you even have people that would tell you something bad about a person. I'm stubborn too, just like you mentioned earlier. I would rather find out myself, right? So I'll hear it, keep it on one side. And then when you confirm, I can say, okay, this person is not for me in whatever the circumstance. But I think for you, that light has always been there, Shuraim. And when you discussed starting a job, I have many people that I tell outrightly, go get a job. You need to be in an office. But from the discussions and the dreams that you had, it was very obvious that a regular 9 to 5 would not have worked. You would probably live a very miserable life.
I know it.
Yeah, but for me, it was one of those things. It's either take a risk and decide to pursue your dream, or get into a job that takes it all away or wastes your time. Because for me, I've always said if I had known what I wanted to do and I had the strength to drop that fear early on, I wouldn't have wasted some years. But I have no regrets on my journey. And I would say the same for anyone who's already made certain choices. But for you, you took it and you ran with it. And you can imagine my shock from discussing a regular show of, oh, let's just get this thing on Instagram. And you were now talking about, you know, DSTV and Star Times and some other international platforms. And that's why I wanted you to mention earlier, and I forgot. The different platforms that did you know went to prior to it becoming with Shuraim?
Well, alhamdulillah. So I was sitting and I was thinking, how can we put this platform out there? And I had a friend of mine who told me, see, you know, what you're doing is amazing. You need to like take it out. People should watch it more. And I was like, okay, see, I'm going to do this. I'm going to take it out. I'm going to like make people watch it, enjoy it and everything. So I got to speak to, the first platform was Sunnah TV.
Yes.
And I spoke to them, you know, the man was like very chill and he was like, yeah, no problem. You can get it up. You go have a beautiful program. In fact, we'll give you a prime time every Sunday, 7 to 7:30. And it's going to be repeated every Monday, 11:30 a.m. to 12 noon. And I was like, that's perfect. And I didn't take it because, you know, a friend of mine told me that, Shuraim, you need to learn how to accept what you've done and how to also see what achievement you've done.
Yes.
Because it gives you
instead
a
of just focusing on the next thing.
So for me, at that moment, I didn't even take it serious. Like, okay, yeah, I'm just on DSTV. And now we're on DSTV, Star Times, Go TV, Azza Space, Amos 24 in France, and we're on not only Sunnah TV, we're on Ansar TV, we're on Manara TV. A lot of people from the UK and the US are sending us messages to say, okay, how come we're on their platform? We're in process of signing deals and the likes of it. And for me, it's about, okay, what am I doing? Is it going to be impactful to these people? And okay, now these are a big platform, international people are watching. How can I make it more impactful? And how can I better my English? You know, when I met you, my English was terrible. You know, I was even trying to speak to you. I was like, this woman speaks good English. I have to be very, very careful. But yeah, alhamdulillah, these are the platforms that we are on.
But that's not really the main issue, right? As long as you can communicate and
Absolutely.
people can understand, you know, it's a beautiful thing. And I'm super proud of you.
Thank you so much.
And this is the part where I tell you I love your work.
Thank you so much.
It's amazing. I am super proud. The different steps you've taken in this life. Like I know how hard it's been behind the scenes. For many who don't know, Shuraim has been a really, really hardworking young man. And I know how, you know, proud your mom is. You know, and I'm just so happy. I'm glad you're getting fat. And eating all the food that you
I can't allow my former pictures to be seen. I can't tell.
No, we're gonna get it. We should get some. Let's have one or two of the behind the scenes of Shuraim in the past. But you know, like I said earlier, like you're inspiring many young people, and especially in a space where many people don't see themselves getting in there. You know, spirituality is something we don't like. People who are extreme about it, and you have those who don't even want anyone to talk about it or know what they're up to. You talked about being private in your own life, and I totally understand that. I'm the same. I'm very selective with what goes out there, even though I'm quite open based on what some people think, but they still don't get to see as much. So the same happens with you. Like when you're getting these questions and answers from the different people, does it impact you? Like, do you feel like you're learning or you're just moving on?
You see, one important thing, I always look forward to an interview. Why? Because I choose my guests very carefully, because I want to invite you because I want to learn from you. So when I sit with you, I am listening not just with my ears, but with my heart. So I know when you speak from your heart, because when you speak from your heart, it goes to the heart. And there are shows that I have not set out till today. I have not released till today because I didn't feel it.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't release them because I felt the conversation wasn't worth it to be out there.
Okay.
And yeah, they wasted their time, and I apologize, but it's about the bigger picture, not just the situation at that moment. So yeah, I get to learn a lot. And with all the people I've known, from the influential people to all the people, one of the things I've learned the most is humility and being true to yourself. And I realize that those who are true to themselves tend to achieve so much in life. And for instance, my interview with Mufti Meng, the first interview, it changed my perspective about life in general. And guess what? What did we talk about? Coexistence between Muslims and non-Muslims.
Yeah.
How do we coexist together? How do we live together? How do we respect each other? And me just living somewhere and coming to this, I was like, oh my God, it's changed my perspective a lot. And ever since, it has impacted me so much. And it has a ripple effect. When I go to places, I talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm planning to write a book pretty soon. The name of the show has been Did You Know, right?
Yeah.
Now I want to focus on Now You Know.
Now you know.
Yeah, it's going to be excerpt from, a lot from all my interviews I've had with people, my conversations and likes of it. And over the years, I grew from not just interviewing scholars to interviewing people that are intellectually capable to pass information, that are thought leaders in their own right.
Yeah.
And I got to interview so many amazing people, Hajia Mariam Uwais, a lot of amazing people. I was so glad
to see more women coming on
the
show.
And for me, it was more of like a process.
Yeah.
Like, okay, this part, you do this part, jump to this, because I try to be strategic with whatever I do and how I try to handle it and the likes of it. Because for me, it has to be in depth first before I release it out there. Yes. So yeah, I really learned a lot, and I've learned a lot from all my guests, especially all the guests that I have released their programs out there for the general public to watch. And for me, it's not about the number of people that watch. If one person is impacted by what has been said, that is enough for me. And that's why for me, I don't go on saying, okay, I must do this interview now, or I must do that interview now. It's about the impact that it has on people. And we did like, Q&A for people who watch our program. What have you learned? What are the mistakes? And everybody was saying so many stuff. We learned this, we learned that. Yeah, I was so excited. And with that, we were able to, build an academy called the Junior Academy with over 4,000 students, and that classes was free for everybody to come. And we had the most qualified scholars to teach these courses, because we at the Junior, we don't believe in bringing half-cooked baked scholars. No, we believe in bringing people that have studied this and they are really good. They are recognized by people, understand that, okay, this is where they align to, because everybody today is just, being things they are not. So I've really learned a lot from them.
But I'm really glad, because I think for me, one thing that I love, and I realized that most of the interviews that I've done so far, and even the people I want to interview for this show, that I want to actually say I love your work to, are people who have made impact in the lives of many, as much as they can, and then in the lives of few. It's not about how many people, like you said, it can be just one person. But for me, if I can learn from you, then definitely someone else can. And having that beauty of learning and constantly unlearning, because you talked about Mufti men can coexistence. So I come from a multiracial, multi-religious, multi-tribe family.
Right.
So I don't really feel like I fit into any collective. It's you grow up with people and you learn about coexistence
100%.
And you learn about respecting everybody's thoughts or ideas or what they believe in, and it's okay, so you talking about coexistence, for me, I think it's such a big deal, especially in the country that we live in,
right.
Because one of the first things we do in first of all, just even a name, I will judge you immediately by your name.
100%.
Right? I will assume where you're from by your name. So drop name aside, looks, because you look a certain way, you're judged or reacted to in a certain way. And the same happens in religion, in tribe. I'm not saying this just from the sense of religious perspectives or beliefs. So for me, when you talk about coexistence, and for someone to say that to you and immediately it makes an impact, I think for many of us and anyone who's listening to this, we need to look deep down inside and think, are we being selective in the way we do things? Are we stereotyping? Are we judging? And I think one thing I've learned from your show is even some of the answers that I get from some of the scholars or the sheikhs that you bring onto your show, sometimes even I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, or I thought this or that.
Right.
And I think that's the beauty about learning, and that's what I love about Did You Know?
Thank you so much.
I'm so happy that you made it to the show. I really, really appreciate it, Shuraim. Thank you, Uncle Shu.
I am. You gave me the name Uncle Shu, and
yes, I did.
It's now a brand everywhere, and we are thinking of
serious?
for my next series. It's gonna be Coffee with Uncle Shu.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah,
that's
inshallah. And I'm really excited to be in this program.
But why coffee? Some of us drink tea.
Okay, I'm gonna come for consultancy.
How about we do like
basis.
beverage with Uncle Shu?
Ooh, that sounds nice.
Anyway, it was great to have you on
Thank
here.
you so much, and I want to tell you.
Flowers.
Oh, nice. And I want to really thank you so much for the work that you do. And I don't know if people tell you this a lot, but a lot of young people have become better because of how you've been able to mentor them properly, and not just mentoring them, but seeing them through their life and the likes of it, seeing them through, becoming successful in what they do. I really pray that, Allah bless you, Allah keeps you, and
Don't
also grant you sincerity your purpose in whatever you do. And on behalf of those who can't say thank you to you, I want to really tell you thank you. And I'm so excited when you brought up this program. We love your work because it helps a lot of young people out there appreciate what they've done and see from a bigger picture, and not just appreciating, but coming from you, whom most people look up to. It's really amazing. So thank you so much for creating this. And your team are amazing. So thank you so much.
You're part of the team, aren't you? It's everybody. But the beauty about meeting people, and especially the younger ones, you guys have a fire in you that also inspires us. Amazing. So it's like a cycle. I see it as a cycle. You take and someone gives. Yeah. It's like a two-way street. I think it's not just about expectations, but if you genuinely just look at what people are doing, it inspires you. That's one of the reasons you're here. I know you're going to inspire old and young, because there are some people I know who have dreamt of meeting the likes of the scholars that you have on your show. Like, it's constant dream for them. So for them, they're watching your show, just the fact that, wow, this person is here, So with that, I would like to close this show, and you will receive your flowers in reality.
I will love it.
But thank you, and I appreciate you. And for those of us watching, I'm bringing someone else very soon. Stay with the show. I love your work, Shuraim.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. And by the way, I love your work.